What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another LIFECAST. Again, massive thank you for all the feedback we've getting these past few weeks. This week, we are going to talk about being the best version of yourself. A couple of drinks, please, mate.
I think we're going to talk about diet. I think we're going to talk about exercise, training, sleep, all those things. But personally, I think they need to be spoke about in a more layman's terms.
Every day, yeah.
Yeah, an everyday athlete. I call it an everyday athlete. I think the problem with most things, whether it's lack of sleep or putting on weight or not being able to lose weight or mood swings, is driven by simple things that we're not being educated and spoke about. So I think it'll be interesting today just to generally cover those things about how you stay in relative shape every day, you know, in comparison to how your training regime was to, you know, win the Invictus Games or break a world record, which obviously I've never done, but I've maintained all my life. I'm 45 now. I'm pretty much the same body shape that I was, within reason, than I was 20 years ago. And I don't kill myself in the gym. I don't really miss out on alcohol, as you know. I don't really miss out on all the food that I like, but I do choose wisely. What about you?
I think this will be a really interesting one. I think some of the things we've mentioned, we could even make other episodes about just on their own, because there's going to be a bit of a broad kind of look at being the best version of ourselves. But I also think there'll be some contrast in the sense that when I look at you, I think of someone who kind of maintains this level. In the past, I think maybe because of my injury and stuff, I've definitely had periods, months at a time where I've known I've not been at it. And then I've had kind of peaks and troughs with being the best version of myself, where I know you're someone who's very much like, you know, you're almost recording it kind of same where I am every day, where I'm very much, right, okay, I'm going towards this, let's go, and then it might drop off a bit and that. But I think it'll give us both varying views on what it feels like, what it looks like to be the best version of yourself.
By the way, if you're looking for higher performance, you need to do it the way you've done it. I mentioned in a previous podcast that I used to go into like training camps with boxers. But because I didn't have the fight at the end of it, I would go into somebody else's training camp. And I was sat there with a lad called Joe Murray. He went to the Beijing Olympics, I think. And he said I'd just done a camp with him. And then I went into the next camp. And he was like, the problem with that is you're always going to plateau because you're not getting the recovery. Right? So that was something I learned from him. But I think if you're looking at everyday maintenance, there's a totally different way.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The way you do it, I think, is the kind of way to go, rather than this kind of, you know, peaks and troughs. But I mean, what would you say is the most important thing for your kind of, let's say, daily routine to kind of keep Paul at the best version, the best Paul he can be?
Well, I think there's non-negotiables. I have non-negotiables. I've heard you
talk about them before, yeah.
So there's. I'll tell you what else there is before we move on. I think everybody's got a different default. So for example, I can train every day, and I wake up in the morning, I look at my diary and think, what is it possible for me to do to train today? Because it's a non-negotiable that I'm going to train. And I can do that like saying, and I need to brush my teeth, put my socks on,
well, it's
and I've got to train. It is, and it's that easy for me. Right, but if I look at diet, my diet, I was a chubby kid, and a lot of people look at me now and probably think I've got more of a leaf physicality than a chubby physicality, but that's not the case. When I grew up and I was a pretty chubby kid, so by my nature is that. Also, my default diet as a kid was horrendous. Right, my diet as a kid for breakfast would be a 2-litre bottle of lemonade and a packet of biscuits.
Oh, really, yeah?
It was 1984, but you didn't really understand the effect of sugar on your diet in the 80s, right? There wasn't all this fad that goes on nowadays, and we all got education. I used to have a packet of biscuits, a full packet, and a 2-litre bottle of lemonade when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. That was my breakfast, right? So I think that develops your default. I also always did a lot of sports, so that's developed my training default as a kid. So I think what might come easy to you, and we're going to find out this on a podcast, might be really difficult for me. And what might be really easy for me might be really difficult for you. My missus, for example, we can go on a night out bender and I'm getting up in the morning and I'm going, where's the English breakfast? Where's it? Which I'll tell you in a minute, I don't ever have on a normal basis. There's another non-negotiable about breakfast and so on. But I will wake up and I will go back to default, which is where's the crap? She'll go up and she'll have probably water till 12 o'clock and she's not trying. Then she'll get a prawn salad, right, at 12 o'clock. I'm only talking after a bender here. And then in the evening, she'll have some nuts, and it will just be her default. And I think it's quite important that we all understand before we go into what we do, that I think everybody has got a different default mechanism for the different things we're about to discuss. Some of it will come easy and be natural, and some of it you have to have discipline and commitment. What do you think to that?
Yeah, I've never really heard about it being, as we've all got a default, but yeah, you're right, we obviously all have, haven't we? It's at what point do you kind of make that and understand that, oh yeah, that's my default? I think that's the question for people, isn't it? I'm being honest with themselves, thinking like, what is my default?
I think you kind of know what comes easy to you and what's really difficult. So I know it's really difficult for me not to eat sugary foods. It's really difficult. I love chocolate and I love crisps. And if there's a treat cupboard in our house and it's full, then I'm going to dip into that. So I have to build behaviours around it.
I was going to say that then. So how much kind of effort then does it take you to get from default to the best version of you? Is it a lot of effort?
It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of discipline and commitment. So if we pick on, let's take some subjects at a time. My daily routine, just on diet, let's take diet. My daily routine is I get up and I don't break my fast, right?
So, yeah, even that starts on that. So how long are you fasting for then?
I don't eat after 7 p.m. and I don't eat until probably 12 or 1 p.m. the next day. So I fast for about 16 hours. And that's nearly every day. If I go out, it's different. But if I just talk about a routine, which is so vital to everybody's, you know, that is part of being the best version of yourself, is being in.
We're saying routine, diet, exercise.
Yeah, hydration. Sleep. And a lot of that will all come off what you've just said there, which is the circadian rhythm, which is the routine that your body is used to being in. Because when you go out of a routine, if you go on holiday, you'll notice your eating habits will change. Yeah. You'll notice your training habits will change. And when you come back home, you won't go back into how you left it. You'll be mixed up for a few days, so you reset your circadian rhythm. So I keep a circadian rhythm by going to sleep at the same time roughly every night. I'm in bed at 10 o'clock every night, between 10 and half 10, and my alarm goes off at 7. And that's virtually every day. There's always anomalies, but that's every day. My body knows when it's getting ready to sleep. But if you start jumping around at different times of the night, your body doesn't know when to release the serotonin. Doesn't know when to release the serotonin in order to give you a good night's sleep.
So already you said there, the fasting and the sleep, two huge things to make you the best version of you can be. I've got a friend who's in Special Forces, and he said that they've just been given this program, and a guy come in and done all these tests on them. They said sleep is the most important thing for you, like the most important thing. All these drugs that you could take, the new fads, the new this, sleep is the number one thing that you need to keep in check to be the best version of you can be. That's a routine, exactly what you said. Similar times, waking up with the ample of kind of 7-8 hours. Yeah. That is like number one.
Yeah. And you can get more detailed on sleep, by the way. The amount of good sleep you have is actually determined by how you wake up in the morning, as much as what you do before you go to bed at night. So if you're really into that sleep thing, you can look into it. If you're not getting
do a bloody 2-3 hour podcast.
Yeah, if you're not getting a good night's sleep, it could be that you're not getting enough exposure to light, because it's the serotonin that wakes you up, isn't it? It's the melatonin that makes you sleep. But when you wake up in the morning, you start producing serotonin to wake up for the day, like you did when you was in the cave, caveman days. And we had a sleep coach come into our Be the Standard. I think he was ex-Real Madrid sleep coach. every sports club has a sleep coach. You're one of the most important people in it now.
Important.
But you need to get exposure to light to increase your serotonin through the day to replicate that melatonin level at night, which allows you to sleep. So if you're not having a good night's sleep, one of the things you might want to look at is, do you quickly wake up in the morning? Don't slumber around in the dark. You know, people even have cold showers now. Some people expose the naked skin to as much light as they can, produce as much serotonin, which then has the opposite effect in the evening, higher levels of melatonin, better sleep. So I try to stick to a routine. I don't break my fast in the morning, because the other thing that somebody told me a few years back was, when your body stops processing the food, which is why I don't eat late, once you've processed that food, you start through the night burning fat as your fuel. And the only time you stop burning fat as a fuel is when you put a carbohydrate in. And then you break your fast. Why it's called breakfast. I didn't even know that till I was 41.
Yeah.
I didn't even understand
breakfast
was breaking your fast, right? So then he said that, and I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the fat you're burning through the night, if you wake up in the morning and don't have carbohydrate, you will continue to burn fat for longer in the day. So I think that's a cheat. Even if I do have something in the morning, I'll have eggs and meat, because I'm not putting a carbohydrate in, and then I'm constantly continuing to burn fat as my major fuel. And I'm bamboozled how many people don't know that.
Well, I didn't know it.
Because I walk around if I'm on holiday, and I will go straight to the eggs, bacon, probably eggs and bacon, that'll be my breakfast if I'm going to have it. If I was in work, I wouldn't. But if I was on holiday, and I look at all these people with fruit juices, Special K, fruit, and toast, brown toast, and they're putting it all on there, and the amount of carbohydrate.
Just describe my breakfast, mate.
The amount of carbohydrate that's on that is unreal. And the minute you do that, you break your fast. The minute you do that, you start burning sugar and carbohydrates as fuel instead of fat. So I don't break my fast if I can help it till midday, but if I do, I definitely avoid carbohydrates.
That's really interesting, something I need to implement. I think one thing I'm with you on, the sleeping makes me the best version of me, is the sleep. I'm a bit like you. I'm in bed for 10, probably sleep for half 10, 11 max, and I'm up at 7. So I'm making sure I'm getting that 8 or 9 hours sleep. I get that most nights, and I'm making sure, I'm in my bed for 10 o'clock. One thing that I can say, and I know it's not me being the best I can be, is I get problems with my leg, infections. You know, your immune system starts going. The second I only get 5-6 hours a night for 2 or 3 nights, my leg feels sore. So weird. I can just tell. I get little infections, little niggles, and it's just like your body saying, you know, I'm not 100% here.
Yeah.
So I straight away know the downsides of if I'm not being the best version of myself, just when it comes to getting enough sleep. So it's so interesting on that.
I'm prone to. Do you get cold sores?
No.
I'm prone to them. So if I go out of that probably for a few weeks, if I go out of my routine and my sleep's poor, I get a cold sore.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to think that some people can maybe see people like being the best versions of themselves and almost think it's, oh, you're having a lucky day or it's come by fluke. And I think people don't really understand or have maybe got their own things in place to know that it is down to having 8 hours sleep a night. It is down to fasting. It is down to all these little things that make someone have a decent day. You know, you don't just pluck them out of nowhere. There are things that you need to put in place to be the best version of you.
I think I'm lucky that I've ended up acting and knowing quite a few sports people. And over the years that we've done it, I've looked at their commitment and dedication, which I think is undervalued sometimes, mate. I mean, what these people have to go through. And everybody just looks at the salary and things, but they give up the whole life. The whole life's given up. Yeah. They ain't out. They're not doing Christmas. They're not doing all these things. They lead a very dedicated life in the main. And I think I've always looked at that and then thought, why are we not all trying to do that? Why are we not all trying to be the best dad that day, or the best son that day, or the best wife or husband or girlfriend or business leader or boss, or, you know, in any walk of life? And that's why I use the term everyday athlete quite a lot, because I think you have to make a conscious effort every day to be the best version of yourself. And that comes with educating yourself, some of the things we just talked about.
Well,
you know what breakfast
I've been educated already, yeah.
It comes with educating yourself, it comes with surrounding people who know stuff, who can help you, which is how I've picked up things along the way. Then it comes with applying dedication and commitment. We just talked about sleep. We've talked about a bit of morning. So, and I'll ask you what your daily diet routine is in a second. So mine will then be, probably midday I will bring a carb into my diet. So I won't have had a carb from 7 p.m, 6 p.m, 7 p.m. until 12, 1 o'clock the next day. Then I will eat. And you know, sometimes I have to get quick snacks. So this is another thing that I think is a misconception. It's like, but if I go to McDonald's, this might sound dead boring, but I sometimes will nip to McDonald's but I will get chicken nuggets. I know they're 350 calories, right? So it's 350 calories, chicken nuggets, a bottle of water, and a fruit bag, right? That'll be my driving on McDonald's. Hey? Well, there you go. Meal. But I look at that and I look at it and it's like, if you need something, and most of the time when you're on the go, and I obviously I'm busy, you've got to try and think of what are the cheats. This is what I think. There's a key word, this. I think too many people, will come on to training on this in a second, I think too many people think that to stay in a relative shape or get in good shape, you've got to eat like a rabbit, when in fact, you've just got to control probably what you intake in the morning. For me, is 0, water, maybe a coffee. If I get hungry, I'll have a coffee. And then I'm into lunch. That not always healthy, because it depends where I am, what meeting I'm in between. But if it is a McDonald's or a fast food thing, sometimes I'll go Five Guys, if I can see a Five Guys, and I'll get the bacon double cheeseburger, but I'll get it in a lettuce thing rather than have the.
Are you noticing then when you are in this kind of zone of like 12 till 7 eating, whether it's the Five Guys or McDonald's or whatever, are you noticing that that's kind of contributing to you being, you know, on it, rather than waking up at 7, 8, eating some toast, a big breakfast? And when you're in a routine of doing that compared to that, are you noticing?
Well, and I think you notice certain habits. So if you have toast, if I have toast at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, which on the very, there is a rare occasion to do, by 10 or 11 o'clock, I need some more sugar, right? Because your body's made, I think the chemicals, ghrelin. Once you've put sugar in your body, there's a chemical called ghrelin that it puts in your body that makes you then want to have more sugar every 2 hours. So I'll want an 11 o'clock snack if I have an 8 o'clock snack. If I'm in a normal routine, I don't want any food at 11 o'clock in the morning. If I don't eat at 7, my body just knows you're not going to eat till lunch.
Comes back to routine again, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's that. And then in the evening, it just depends, because I've won so many calories in the morning. Usually I've consumed, even sometimes I have to go KFC, I'll just eat the popcorn chicken. You know, I never eat the chips. I never go and get the fizzy drink. I just get the popcorn chicken and the water. So my lunch is not always the best meal, is what I'm saying. It's quick, but I try and make it as like the least calorific treat that I can get to keep the calories down. And that's my day. What does your day look like for eating?
I was going to say I'm really good when it comes to eating, because I don't really eat too much crap, but I guess it's the time of the day and stuff. So this morning I woke up, I had a bowl of porridge with blueberries on it. I was at like 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning. Like Quaker oats, is it, with blueberries on, and some Greek yogurt. And then lunchtime I ate a banana, tangerine and an apple, and then I've not ate anything else then until tonight. Right. So I eat quite well, but I'm eating at maybe the wrong times, maybe, or something.
Yeah. And it's got to work for everyone. And I think the key to it is to try things. You know what the thing is, I like being hungry. I had a mindset change at a point where I used to think I'm hungry, like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing to be hungry. In fact, you're only supposed to eat really when you're hungry. Yeah. Otherwise, you're eating for convenience and you don't need it. And you're eating crap usually because you're bored.
And that's the thing though, when you are eating crap, or it's not so much that day, it's the days that follow. Like you say, if you're not getting the sleep, it might not be that same next day, but if you're going a few days of no sleeping, a few days of eating crap, a few days of not doing no exercise, you know, you'd be sitting there and you're feeling really shitty about yourself, or you're arguing with people, or work's not going well, and you're not the best version of yourself. you only need to look back the past week of what you've been doing, and you are the product of those last few days. And I think that's why it's the importance of this one, to saying, you know, what is it that makes you the best version of you? So sleep, nailed it. Food, we've nailed it. For me, one that definitely does play a part is exercise. You know, that is so important to me, whether it's been running in the past, whether it's been swimming, whether it's been circuits in the gym, some sort of exercise, even dog walking, making sure, you know, you're out and about doing stuff, because the second I'm having 2 or 3, 4 days where I've not really done much, nightmare.
And what does a session look like for you?
I mean, I've had to vary them with my leg when I've had infections, and that's what I said to you at the start. I've had times where I've been like that, then I've been this. Initially, when I had problems with my leg, I just wouldn't do anything. Whereas now, I'll go for a swim. So I am doing a lot more swimming now. I'll swim, maybe like do a mile in the pool, do kind of dips on the side and stuff. So I'll make it a really, you know, a decent workout. It's not always like an hour's workout. Sometimes it's a quick 20 minutes. And again, that maybe to me acts as a bit of a placebo that, you know, I've done something. So I think if I'm doing that at least 3, 4, 5 times a week, I know that I'm onto a winner, whether it's, again, a circuit, a swim, a run, or even like a brisk walk with my dad or something, you know what, doing something. But the second I start going 4, 5, 6 days without doing at least something, I can just start it's like things just start chipping away. And that's when I say, whether it's the sleep, no exercise, food, not having a routine, not being productive, that's when my mood starts to, you know, crumble, and then, you know, you're arguing with people, you're short with people, and then suddenly and it all starts at the foundation, which we spoke about.
I think with training is, one of the things I learned about training is, and I think everybody gets wrong, is there's certain cheats to train. And I think sometimes I look at, you go to the gym and you see people pounding the treadmill, dripping in sweat. That's not me. That's not me. I'm not one of them. I will go to, so the first thing is I never train for more than 40 minutes, 45 minutes, because I haven't got the time. That's the first part. If I don't want to train, the other non-negotiable is 10,000 steps a day, by the way, right? Because I just
every day.
Oh, I mean, I do, on average, I probably do 85 to 100,000 steps a week, so I'm probably averaging more like 40, 50, and I find it really easy. If I'm on the phone and I'm in a meeting, I walk around on the phone. If I'm going to be in a call for half an hour, I can either sit down for half an hour in a call, or I can leisurely walk and get steps in. It's a no-brainer. I never take a lift unless it's a stupid amount of steps. I don't see the point in it. I think there's lots of quick wins that people don't do, and then leave themselves with the uphill struggle of a 10k run.
Yeah.
Or
and it's all just little things that you're contributing in to being the best version of yourself, innit?
Yeah, but doing it without putting myself out, because then I think it's maintainable.
Well, I think what you've done a great job of already is saying how you kind of do things to be the best version of you, but they don't actually seem that hard to do, really. Make sure you're in bed for 10. Anyone can, you know, do that. Set your alarm for 7, or, you know, at least get 7, 8, 9 hours in. Don't eat until 12. I mean, that'd take a bit of getting used to, but easily doable. And then, the things like walking around if you're on the phone, if you've got a meeting, it's...
Take some people, we've only got 3 flights here, and I see people go up and down in the lift. And it's just a quick, easy win, that, just to burn 50 calories or 100 calories. And you do that, if they do that by the time they walk in, probably come down for a coffee, go out for lunch, come back, end of the day back, that's probably 300 calories. That's actually a gym session. That 300 calories is probably an average gym session. Somebody can actually do that just walking up 2 or 3 flights of stairs, the 3 or 4 times a day that they take a lift. So I try to live my life like that to make it easy. One of the things I used to do was I'd get home and I'd be like, I've not trained, and I'd go for a 5k run. Sometimes my mind is shot and I'm stressed and I've done 12 days. What I'll do now is that when the kids go to bed at 7, half 7, I'll say to Zeri, I'm going to go and walk for an hour. Because I know that I can walk 5 or 6k in probably, I don't know, probably 40 minutes, 45 minutes, let's say, probably twice as much as I'd run it in, I guess. Sometimes I can't be asked. I can't be bothered to run. So the idea then is I'd get in from work and it's like, put your running shoes on, motivate yourself. If it's cold, put your hat on, put your comfort. Or
that sounds like a chore, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Sometimes, not always, sometimes it is. So I think what's an easier way of burning the same amount of calories, and I'll just walk the same amount, the same route, but it takes me twice as long. And I might listen to music, or I might try and live in the moment, which is another thing I try and do for my mindset. Or I might be on my phone sending emails. You know, I do a lot of that. But the other thing that I do to try when I really want to get in better shape is I avoid the cardio running. The best body shapes are not usually made on treadmills, right? And there's other benefits, and I think people, mainly women, don't take advantage of the benefits of strength training rather than cardio training. Because I think there was a whole thing in the 90s of like home treadmills and Jane Fonda and gyms opening, and everything seemed to be women in headbands and guys. And actually, I think when you look at the cheat effect of, say, doing a leg day, so if you do legs for 45 minutes, the amount of muscle breakage that needs to recover takes 2 days to recover. So imagine what your natural metabolism's running at when you're having to recover from like a leg session. When you do a cardio session, within an hour, your body's generally back to its usual state. So I think, would you really want to go? Now, if you love running, go running. You know, Adam's in here, and I think Adam's going to do more running than he's going to do squat sessions because it comes naturally to him. If running comes naturally to you, run. But if you can't find something in your default, to me it's like, how do you... So I find food is not in my default, so where do I find my quick wins and my cheats? I also find in training, it's like you need to do the same thing. So if you want to increase your metabolism, so you're not having to go to the gym and pound treadmills and cross trainers and all the rest of it, you have to find compound exercises like squats and deadlifts that are going to train the whole body, shock the system, and mean that you've got to increase your metabolism. So that's another thing that I do on my training to try and cheat my way through the week.
One of the other things for me, which isn't more of a physical thing, it's more of a mental thing for me, is I like to have a to-do list, something I can kind of work my way through. Just something I've picked up of, I don't know whether it's the military kind of thing in me or what, but I like to have a little thing on my breakfast bar. If I know I'm going to be out and about, I'll do it on my phone. Just a little bit ticking things off, and I think adding that to the sleep, the nutrition, and the gym, having a bit of purpose for that day. You know, not every day is climbing a mountain or a big motivational talk. Sometimes it's go to dry cleaners, go and pop in, see so-and-so, make sure you know, do whatever. And I think for me, having that list, might not get through all of them in a day, but just some sort of kind of evidence of me being productive, that kind of gives me that feeling of, right, I'm on the right track to being the best version of me.
Progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't a day that every single day I wake up and I think, whatever today brings, there is one thing that I'm going to do. And I make sure that I just do that one thing. And sometimes it's tiny. Sometimes it's tiny. But I feel like it gives you that satisfaction. Sometimes it's big, you know, but I feel like whatever it is, I wake up that day and I think, regardless of what gets thrown at me, today I'm going to bang. And I just make sure that I action it.
What I think is really interesting for me as well, and this is probably the biggest kind of thing I've got from being the best version of myself, is when I look back to times in my life where I've been really successful, and when I look back to times in my life where life's going to shit, I can literally see, oh, that's when you were getting 8 or 9 hours sleep. Oh, that's when you were eating good food. Oh, that's when you wasn't drinking too much. Oh, that's when you were training. Oh, that's when you're being productive. And the times when things aren't going so well, it's, oh, you've not been to the gym in 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, you've drank 5 days that week. Oh,
yeah.
You've not. And it's a no-brainer.
How easy is it when you say it like that?
I know, and it's just a no-brainer. Every aspect I can look back in my life, there are literally things I can go, oh, you were doing all them then. Oh, you wasn't doing any of them then.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's getting into a routine, which has been said loads, of knowing what are the things you can do. And you've, you know, spoke really well about how easy they can be. to do them, and just put yourself in the best possible position to be the best version of yourself. And again, every day it's not going to be perfect, but you're putting yourself in and around the. It's like a goal scorer, you know, you're putting yourself in the penalty box, waiting for that chance to have a great day. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Do you find it easy to drink 2 litres of water a day?
No, don't. I'll struggle with that. I mean, I do drink a lot of water. I don't think it's probably 2 litres, no. But I think it's difficult, I think, yeah.
I think it's hard. It sounds easy. And to some people listening, they'll think that's dead easy. I find it hard. I have to work at it.
Oh, it's
so, for example, on the default, if I go to like a petrol station, I buy a bottle of water. Now, yesterday, I did the exact same thing, and I got in the car, and there was, say, half a bottle of water left, or 3/4 of a bottle of water, and by the time I'd got home, I drank it. But if it wouldn't have been there, and I wouldn't have done that behaviour, it wouldn't have been there, and I wouldn't have wanted the water. Do you get what I mean? Stupid stuff, but I think after sleep, or even equal to sleep, one of the things that will be most important for mood, the way you feel, hunger, because you probably eat a lot of the times when you're actually just thirsty, is hydration. And I think one of the final things I'll say that I do, and I don't know if you do this, have you got a Fitbit on?
I used to have one, I don't do it no more, no.
I do measure certain things I try to educate myself on. So caffeine's another one, by the way. Before we've already done alcohol to death on a different podcast, but caffeine's another one. If I have caffeine after 11, maybe 12 maximum in a day, I won't sleep as well at night.
Well, you don't drink no coffee after 12?
Oh, no caffeine. I get up in the morning, and if, as I say, if I'm hungry, I'll have 2 coffees in a day, but I have them all before 11 o'clock. If I have more than that, I start feeling anxious anyway, in the main. But I don't have caffeine after 11, maybe 12 the odd occasion. But so that's the other thing that I do. And the last thing I'm going to talk about and what I do is my Fitbit. I play with certain things. So I might eat later. But when I eat later, my heart rate when I'm sleeping is always higher because I'm digesting food. Comes back to what you said earlier. I've got into a mindset now where I can tell my routine because I don't feel so bloated. I don't eat lots through the day of carbohydrate and sugar, so I don't feel them crashes, the 3 o'clock crashes and the 11 a.m. crashes. I make sure that I monitor my steps. I make sure that I monitor my heart rate.
It's accountability, isn't it?
It does. And I tell you what, go out on the lash for 2 days. I used to go out, if I used to go out, I'd always like hair of the dog. But now I see how detrimental it is to getting my scores back to normality. My
I guess that's why they are great, those Fitbits and all that, you know, for those reasons.
I mean, I just wouldn't live without mine. I wouldn't live without it, mate, because it determines my behaviours. So instead of on a Sunday, have a big night out on a Saturday, having 3 magnets to take the edge off it, which is what I used to do, I'll have 3 pints of water because I know that it's going to get through my system quick enough and my heart rate will be back to where it should be by Monday instead of Tuesday. What else do I measure on that? My heart rate variability, I measure.
Sleep, does
I
it
look at the sleep score. Tell you what, you eat late and look at your sleep score. Your sleep score will be less.
Do you know what as well, which is tying into even more what you're saying, and this is my little pet hate, this is, people obviously do want to become the best version of themselves and they try and do things to make that, but the amount of people who will buy like I don't know, it could be a tablet, or they'll do something, or they'll do this, like a kind of quick fix, and you think, oh, taking this one tablet a day will help with vitamin D, and I mean, I take multivitamins as well, but I'm saying, doing that, but then not doing everything else. Like they're trying to find these little 1%. There's no point in finding a 1% if you're not doing the bloody 80, the big bulk of the 80-90% what you need to do. So I think it's like, I think people do want to be the best version of themselves, but rather than just take the multivitamins and that'll be me, focus on your sleep, focus on your, you know, your hydration, focus on your food, focus on your exercise, and you're just putting yourself in that area to have a good day and be, you know, a better you. And when we say better you, I don't just mean you're walking around with a smile on your face. I mean, you know, you're a better husband, a better wife, a better son, better father. It's all of those things that you, let's face it, we're all aspiring to be.
100%. Last, before we start to end this, what supplements do you take in a day?
It's like 4 or 5, you know. So I'll put a link in onto the bio. You actually get discount off if you get them, but they're all, there's a cod liver oil one, there's one for me bone density, there's one for me gut. What's the other one? There's 4 or 5 that I take.
Yeah. I always make sure you have a ginger shot every day. I always make sure you have a kombucha drink every single day. They're non-negotiables for me now, like water. Yeah. I don't always take this, but I have I'll often take milk thistle. The Omegas, I think 3, 6, and whatever it is, I've got them. I have one for my a garlic and something else for my heart. And there's one more that I've just forgotten, but I'll take 4 supplements. Not every day, but I do take them relatively frequently just to make sure. The big one that I'm into is having kombucha, because I do think...
What does that do then?
It puts bacteria back into your stomach. Okay. They're actually quite nice drinks now. They was a bit minging at first, but actually some really nice drinks out there now. But there's like 1 billion bacteria cultures in it. You wouldn't know it unless it told you.
It's a bit like Actimel, is it something like
probably
that? Probably
something like that, I'm guessing. But I can't eat yogurt stuff, me. It's not. I don't really like it. But so these are like them. But it's a non-negotiable for me, because there's a lot of studies at the moment about the importance of and the relationship between what's in your gut
and your brain,
and everything else. And I think kombucha helps that.
Do you know what else I think about all the multivitamins? You know, even if, let's just say they don't work. I mean, they do, but let's just say they don't. It's a placebo for your brain, and you know what are you thinking? You know what? Started me there, took me vitamins. Right, I'm on a roll. Let's go. And even if it's that, it's doing good. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I think the interesting part about what we've just discussed is, I think there'll be some people listening thinking, that sounds like they're taking supplements, they're managing their alcohol, they're managing the coffee, they're making sure they're hydrating. And I feel like it sounds like, now we've just discussed it all, like there's all these, like you've got to do all these millions of things. And actually there is quite a lot of them, but all of them, to me, it's like, I also brush my teeth. I put my trainers on. You know, I go for a wash. I have a bath. That's actually one of my things that I do. Have a bath every day. Do you? I don't have a shower. Only have a bath. Wow. I have a bath for half an hour every day, and that's my time. That is the thing that is like my meditation, really.
But the other thing to add to that as well is, I don't want anyone to listen to this think these are 2 monks who are talking through their arse. Listen, we have a beer. We've just spent the weekend in Marbella. You spent the week. Yeah. You got to enjoy yourself as well, doing the things that, you know, took me to. Had a big fat roast dinner, bottle of wine. That was lovely, by the way. But yeah, so it's not like these robots who. No. Do you know what I mean?
And I think if you know, the way I look at me now is, I'm probably, I don't know, I'm always about 85% of where I'd like to be. I never get to 100, by the way. I don't think I've had a 6-pack for 20 years, right? But if I really needed to now, I bet I could get one in 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So I always want to be in that position where I think, if I need to, or if I really wanted to, I don't have an uphill to get to that point. And it's not by doing crazy stuff, mate. That's why I'm saying it's not by cutting out McDonald's or KFC. It's not by not having it's not by not having Sunday roast and bottles of wine and knocking beer on the head. It's not by pounding the streets and pounding treadmills. I don't do any of that. And I still stay within probably 90% of the...
Mate, and the points that you've made with that, you can still have your life. But what I wanted to get from this podcast was, if you can stay in around that kind of 80%, whether it's a job interview, whether it's a charity marathon comes up, whether it's, marathon may be a bit extreme, but a charity run, some sort of opportunity comes up, where do you want to be, at that 80% or down in the 30? And that's life, you don't know.
There you go.
Life comes at you fast, and if you can kind of keep yourself in a position of the 80% mark, when opportunities arise, whether it's you're chatting to a girl or a guy in a bar and you're feeling great about yourself, whether it's a job interview, whatever it may be, I'd tell you what, I'd much rather be at the 80% than I would be in the 20.
There you go. We'll leave it at that.
Well, hope you enjoyed that one. Again, keep your suggestions coming in with the messages and the comments. We've got loads to work through. But again, massive thanks. I feel really proud of this LIFECAST series so far, as it seems to have touched a lot of people. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.